Welcome back to the Black Carnivore. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. I really missed you all, and I'm so sorry I didn't have a video going on Tuesday. I really just had a heck of a time with my computer and ended up actually having to erase my hard drive and reinstall the operating system and start from scratch. So
Ouch.
yeah, yeah. Oh God, ouch was right. In fact, I was on the phone with Apple, I would say from Sunday night at 9 p.m. until Monday night at 8 p.m. So, just straight through. But I think we've gotten the problem resolved, and, hopefully everything will be okay from now on. I hope. How are you doing, Arian?
I'm pretty good. I have not had computer failures in a while, so
hmm
count my blessings.
Well, I mean, it wasn't my fault. There was some kind of problem, but, it was an extension of the overall problem of not having enough storage space. So I did
Hmm.
finally buy an external hard drive, a 4 terabyte one. I did also learn from the Apple people that I have to be careful about what I get because a lot of times external hard drives that say they work with Apple don't actually work with Apple. So, I have to pay attention to that.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Did not know that. I just
yeah,
assumed hard drives were hard drives. I mean, it's just USB. It should work with everything. But that's what I thought.
yeah. No, it's the inner workings that can differ. So I got one. I got a good one. It came. I worked on setting it up. God, it's taken forever. It's still, doing its first backup. It's taking
Hmm.
forever, but and I've had to really rethink how I do my files, and it's a whole new organization system. So yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Oh God.
Very,
Yeah.
very good times troubleshooting
Yeah.
computers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I am so glad that I can get back to focusing on some creative stuff. But as some of you noticed, I did get a new design up on Redbubble, so you should check that out. I think it's a really cool design. I put it up in the Facebook group and posted it here on YouTube. So definitely take a look. And let's see, Johnny G asked, "Where is the dinner party?" So where is in your living room or wherever you like to watch live streams. It's up to you. And when is January 16th? That's Saturday night. So Deborah and I are definitely going to reprise our holiday special, and we're going to actually cook together. So hopefully we'll. So I haven't figured out what we're going to cook yet. She knows that she's going to cook steak. I think I'm going to do something a little more complicated, but I want to make sure that I give you that information in advance so that we can cook together if you choose to make the same thing. So, yeah, definitely keep a lookout for that. And oh, I'm so excited about this. I actually started working on a Black Carnivore website today. So hopefully it will not take me forever to get some things set up. And I will, I'll be able to put the information there and you'll be able to find out all the stuff that's going on in the Black Carnivore community.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the
And
cooking together. I like that idea.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was thinking about it because I was like, I'm gonna have some brisket. I know that, but it's like that's hours long, so maybe that's too long. But maybe I can get some oxtails, and I think that's something that can cook in the pressure cooker in 60 to 75 minutes, and that way,
Yeah.
that's a good amount of time. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about what the right thing to do is, but yeah, I would really like to do that. And then I think once the meal is ready, we will record the conversation that happens afterwards, but that will be for patrons only or something like that. So we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with the brisket, yeah, that taking forever. The only other thing you could do would be like the Food Network thing, where like you have one batch that you've already cooked and you pretend to cook another batch, but then when you put it in, you say like, all right, we'll go to commercial break, and you come back
hmm
and it's done, but really that's the
hmm
one that you had cooked like hours ago.
Yeah,
but no one's
that's a good
cooking two
idea.
briskets at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea. I was thinking also I could like record what I'm doing in the beginning and then play it back, but I don't know. I guess I'd have to think about that. But yeah, I could make two
Yeah,
briskets at once. I mean, they'll still get eaten, so that's an
true.
option.
Hmm.
That that is a thought. Maybe I will do that. But there's so little preparation into going into the brisket. It's like the aluminum foil. Get it on carefully. Put it into the oven.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You gotta spend like a lot of time showing like, look, you gotta crinkle the foil like just so, because you want to keep all the moisture in there, or it's gonna dry
Yeah.
out, and you're gonna
Yeah.
end up with a
Yeah.
brisket brick, and no one wants that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've forgotten how I've done it. This is why I really need to write down recipes because, like, I do it a couple of times and it's like, yeah, I totally know this. And then, like, 6 weeks later, the first time I'm doing it again in a while, and it's like, oh man, how did I used to do this? So I got to write this stuff down now. So that's the plan. So, and the plan is to write it down on the website so that you will have that to go to. So that's the plan. That's the
Right.
plan.
That'll work
Yeah, yeah.
once you actually
So,
get the recipe.
or write it down. Just write it
Right.
down. It's so easy. Just write it down and take more pictures. Yeah,
And yet somehow doesn't end up happening.
I know. I
Like
get
I'm the same way.
distracted. I get distracted by eating.
Yeah, like I don't write down anything. I think you're lucky if I ever look up a recipe and then like actually bookmark the website.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it'll be like months later, I'm trying to remember like how did I cook this thing? I'm doing it again now, and I just happen to remember the right thing to search that
Yeah, yeah,
brings up the page again, and my memory
yeah,
is jogged when I see the name of the page that like in the Google search, that I go, okay, so that's the one. I'm gonna go there, and
yeah,
it starts to look familiar, and then I know what I'm doing. But like other than that, like I don't write down anything. I don't take notes on anything. I just go.
yeah. Well, that's been my method too. And then I'm like searching through websites trying to find the page that looked the way I remember it or find something that looks familiar,
Hmm.
and that doesn't always work. And sometimes I will email them to myself or I will put a note in, the Notes app and Apple. But yeah, I don't have a good method. But now what I need to do is just put it up on the website. So there you
There
go.
you go.
It's gonna be full of
Yep.
recipes. Yeah. And someone kept asking me how I made the gravy, the carnivore gravy, and I was like, I don't know. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
I never
I
made a
don't.
video. I didn't write it down.
Did you ever even perfect the gravy? I remember you were
No,
having a lot of trouble with it.
no. I mean, it was perfect. This is what happens to me generally. Things come out perfectly the first time and then degrade thereafter. So, I'm really lucky in the beginning. And then, I don't know.
Maybe you overthink it after that. Like I gotta get this perfect again, and then you
Yeah.
end up doing
Oh,
too
I
much of something.
Absolutely. Or, I start experimenting or, whatever. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I never completely figured it out either. And
Yeah.
then I started just eating more the ground beef. I would just eat crumbled up. So I haven't had the need for something to add fat to my meatballs in a
Hmm.
while. And that was pretty much the main place where I used the gravy. So
Hmm.
I haven't even thought about the gravy in probably a few months now.
Wow. Few months.
Well, however long it's been since we last talked about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Johnny G says, can I have pork cooked on the spit at my dinner party? I really want to win best menu.
That'd
That
be
sounds like
cool.
an awesome menu. I mean, if you got a spit going at your house, that puts you definitely in the contention,
Oh yeah,
for winning best menu.
yeah, yeah. Put that video online. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. And Erica says she's used heavy whipping cream, cream cheese, and sausage drippings to make biscuits and gravy biscuits made of pork
Mm,
rinds. Oh yeah, I can see that working. That'll work just fine.
I could see that.
Um, and Angie Life says not 8 days crisp oven pork belly. That's always perfect. Pork belly gets tough in the air fryer. Yeah, I find I do cook pork belly in the air fryer, but I do not find that to be ideal. I cut it in those into the really tiny pieces, and that way it doesn't get too tough. But it's I don't know. It's not ideal, but it's faster than cooking in the oven. So, it's a little this, a little that.
So that probably explains why the recipe I had said to like slow cook it for 6 hours first and then let it cool and then slice it and actually fry it. So really all the cooking happens in the slow cooking. That's when it becomes tender.
They said to slow cook the pork belly for 6 hours.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
wrapped
usually
up in like
people.
2 layers of foil.
Oh no, mine was roasted uncovered, but
Hmm.
usually people get the skin all crispy in the oven and not try to fry it again later. So I don't know.
Let's
I
see,
don't know.
mine's never had skin. The 2 times I've made pork belly, it's never had skin on it.
My God, that's like the best part.
No,
Yeah,
no. The fat
yeah.
is the best part.
Oh no, the
The fact
skin, the
that it's
crispy
so
skin
this layer of fat that's like this thick on it, that's the best part.
with the skin on top, so it's crispy, and then the fat liquefies in your mouth. Yeah,
See, I'm not one of these people, like, I've learned this about you. I think if you could have everything crispy, you would.
yeah, yeah.
I I definitely don't mind crispy. I definitely like crispy. It's not a thing I ever have to have though.
Uh huh. Okay.
So like I think we talked about it on the Facebook one time. Like when the bacon is still like kind of floppy and pink, like that's fine with me. I don't need it to be crispy the whole way through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I like the crispy. I do. I do. Um, okay, so before we get way too off track, and here we are talking about all this fat, let's talk about today's topic.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail and if you liked it or appreciated it. I loved it. So our suggestion, first of all, for weight loss, it's in January. People are talking about their resolutions. Setting the scene, making 2021 a better year than 2020. Um, weight loss is definitely on the top of people's minds, and I think that we should talk about that. I called today the ultimate guide to fat loss for 2021, because I really think that we should kind of get best practices out there and some tips out there about how to do it. So the first thing that I put on the list was to smash your scale. And
Yes.
I encourage you, like that woman in the thumbnail, just get a sledgehammer and destroy your scale. Why do you think we should do that, Arian? What are your thoughts on it?
Um, so I am on a personal crusade against scales. I think that they are at best like distractions, and at worst they are sources of like crippling like anxiety. I guess like they get in the way and they're totally unnecessary. Like you say all the time, nobody cares about what your scale says. What people are going to notice is going to be how you look in your clothes. Like, and I butchered that. You have some cuter way of saying it. Go ahead.
Nobody cares about what number is on the scale, but everyone can see exactly how tight your pants are.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
So, Like the scale is just like, oh, I gained 5 pounds, I gained 20 pounds. Well, if no one can see it, who cares?
Yeah.
Because that means that the weight that you gained actually isn't, it's not, you didn't gain fat. Like gaining 20 pounds of fat versus 20 pounds of lean mass is going to look very, very different. Um, and yeah, the scale is like, I feel like it just is, it's the same as calories to a good extent. Like it's attaching numbers to your progress, and these numbers are so arbitrary. Um, you can't really control them, and they aren't actually measuring what you should be reaching for. Like you should be reaching for health, and the scale is just going to tell you what it says you weigh on any given day,
Yeah.
which isn't health.
And I take that a step further and ask, are you sure you haven't lost weight? So many people have said to me, I'm not losing weight. I've got this stall going on. Nothing is changing. And, then I say, well, how are your clothes fitting? And it's like, oh, I had to, buy 2 sizes smaller. And it's like, well, you know,
Right.
wait, what's the problem then? Why do you think you're not losing weight?
Hmm.
So, like, I think it's really important to use another measurement to evaluate where you are and to, to track your progress. So the number on the scale is just one tool, and it's not even a great tool. And in fact, a far better measure is, using a tape measure and actually taking your measurements, or better yet, taking a photograph of yourself. I mean, your eyes don't lie. You can see, when you've got a ripple, a pucker, or or a smaller space, or less volume. So we now all have great phones and apps that you can make collages. So if you take a photograph of yourself every day, and then you start to you can make collages of yourself, week to week, month to month, and you will see the differences.
Hmm.
So that's a far better tool. So if you can't spend $1 at the dollar store to get a tape measure, take some pictures of yourself and look at yourself. Just look.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
can't go by your eye and in the mirror, because you're I mean, you're at best going to remember what you looked like yesterday, but you're not going to remember what you looked like 6 weeks ago. But a picture will tell you a thousand words.
Yeah. Like there have been, every time I see people's before and afters, but like the after is only like 2 weeks after or something, like it's
Mm.
still easy to notice a difference a lot of times. Like you can focus and hone in on one thing and say, all right, well, their chin looks different down here. And maybe you can't see progress anywhere else, but you do see it in that one space. And you don't see anything that has regressed in the wrong direction.
Yeah, just watch for regression.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other point that you made is really, really helpful too. So it's a distraction. Focusing on numbers is a distraction, and any kind of numbers is a distraction. I mean, I liked what I saw Dr. Jason Fung would say, that our bodies don't measure or count calories. There are hormones that sort of determine what things you do, and your body sort of has energy needs, but it's not measured in calories. So
Hmm.
us measuring calories is just kind of a distraction from, I don't know, from what the real issue is, or the real approach to, achieve the goal or outcome that you want. So, I know sometimes it makes us feel like we're empowered and we're in control by counting calories and counting macros and writing everything down, and weighing and measuring and making sure everything is exactly right. And that gives you this feeling of power and control, but it's not, you're not actually operating in units of measurement that your body uses. So it's all sort of arbitrary. And okay, maybe it does help you to keep from eating a ton, but that's not if you're under eating, that's in the long run going to present more of a problem for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like the counting calories, and I mean we talk about it all the time. You're gonna lower your metabolism. You're gonna stop losing fat because of that, and you're gonna at the very least stall. Um,
Hmm.
and that's usually not what people want. So yeah, you don't want to be doing that. And um, the other thing that I think we can't like harp on enough is that like part of health is your mental health, and you are sorely mistaken if you don't think that your mental health is affecting your physical health and vice versa. So you can't stress over the scale. That's exactly what it's going to do. You're going to be weighing yourself every day. You're going to be 200 pounds one day and then 200.7 pounds the next day. And you're going to go, oh, crap, what was I doing? What did I do wrong? What can I change?
Yeah.
Well, if I eat a little less, or maybe I'm having too much fat, maybe I'm having too much protein, and then you go on YouTube and you watch like 80 videos, and now you're overloaded with information. You're freaking out because of that stupid scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not helpful. That's not productive.
And that's diet culture. And what's so exciting about this way of life is that it's finally a way of eating that allows you to stop thinking about your body and how your body is operating and functioning, and and how much food. Well, you can stop thinking about how much food you can and can't eat, and how hungry you can and
Hmm.
can't be. And there's a real pleasure and joy in that. And one of the things that frustrates me, I mean, perhaps this is me getting up on a soapbox, but I get really frustrated when I see people who are spending so much energy and time and thought and their own personal power in to getting to the gym multiple times a day and eating a certain amount of food and whatever. And so
Hmm.
all of that energy that you could apply to whatever in your life, whatever your goals are, maybe solving world peace, my God.
Right.
And you're not able to put all of your strengths and power into those wonderful goals because you're focused on like following a path that we know doesn't work and does not lead us to health or slimness necessarily.
Right.
So that's what I really get frustrated about, and so that's what I love so much about the carnivore diet is that you can eat till you're satisfied and not have to be hungry and still be slim, and still have the health that you're looking for. So this is a way off of that diet track, but you gotta lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the world peace thing, especially after yesterday, is
I know,
really
right?
hilarious. Right. Like like you could be solving real problems, but
Yeah,
you're spending so much energy um on trying to like force your body to do exactly what you want it to do exactly on your schedule instead of its schedule. Like just accept that you're not in control. um, the scale just gives you a false sense of control. It's not real. And I don't know, relax.
yeah, and enjoy it. I mean, I gotta say, like when I first started eating this way and kind of got to my goal and where I wanted to be, it was kind of like there was a little part of me that was like, wow, like what do I think about now? Like
Right.
there was so much extra space and room, not thinking about calories, not thinking about, grams of carbs, not thinking about any of that stuff. It was like, oh, God,
Right.
what do I
Right. You're like,
do?
oh crap.
Yeah,
I have to live life now. I
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
Right. But like the goal of this, the goal of everything is to be happy. And you need to protect that.
yeah,
So yeah, like once you should be looking for ways to simplify your life, simplify your eating and your thoughts about eating so that you can be happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
really.
what I ended up doing was starting Black Carnivore. So I had, I tried to put that energy to good use, and I hope that you all enjoy it and enjoy the experience.
Right. And that's a lot more productive than fretting over the scale every day.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
now we've got other people who are healing themselves. We got this whole community of black carnivores who are all just so happy to be in community with each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
the scale was
actually
trying to stop me
really,
from that greatness.
yeah, it was. And it really is nice. I mean, I got to say, I really enjoy this community. I love having the opportunity to hang out with so many of you, to talk with you here and to on Instagram. And it's really been just a pleasure. And I hope that many more will continue to come in and know that there are other Black people who do the carnivore diet. It's not all like. Well, I got a message today about megalomaniac white men who are, running this space. It's not all that. There are others of us. And I've got messages from people who just say, I want to watch someone who aligns with my values a little bit more. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So there are great people in this community that
Yes,
eat this way. Um,
we
and
exist.
yeah, yeah. So the other thing that to make sure about now, as we're talking about weight loss, is to really honestly ask yourself the question: um, Are you following a carnivore diet?
Yeah,
So, there are a lot of, or even a ketogenic diet. I mean, that's a question to ask too. But there are, and I understand in the beginning too, there were definitely moments where I had my cheats or I was, out with someone, or I was somewhere where it wasn't convenient to eat carnivore or to say that I was eating that way. So it was just like, well, I'll just do this for now and blah, 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 whatever. And so, in the beginning, like there were definitely those moments for me. So I think that it's important to ask yourself, um, are you actually in ketosis on a regular basis? And are you having a lot of sweets or things that would drive your cravings that make it hard for you to stay on?
right. Like I've talked about this before. I had to come to terms with the fact that carnivore and alcohol had worked to an extent. They had worked and gotten me to one point, but then if I wanted to keep getting healthier,
Yeah.
I was gonna have to stop the alcohol. And once I did, like, I mean, I don't know how much actual fat versus um, lean, like what was dropped and what was gained, but I know overall on the scale, because I do look at a scale every once in a while, I lost like another 20 pounds just doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that's a good point, that the scale is a tool, so it's not that you can never use it. Just don't, let it run your life, and or be one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm up a pound, so my whole day is horrible, and let me just go get that pie and sit down right now and eat it.
Right.
Yeah, so you want to be
Like
careful of that.
what I was doing on a regular basis was, I think every about week or 2 weeks I was measuring. I actually bought calipers, so I was doing
Oh.
those, using those, and some of there's all these websites that have like different calculators that based on your measurements will give you an estimate of how much body fat you have. So I'd use
Hmm.
like two or three different ones of those and kind of average them all together to get an idea of what I think my body fat was. Like this is my poor man's DEXA scan. Like, but um, I did drop body fat based on all those measures and by my waist size. So yeah, that was it. But it was like me deciding to be more carnivore, I guess I'll say, than I was before.
Yeah, yeah. So I see Artie's princess
Hmm.
says this is her first live, and she's enjoying it. I think that must be a
It
woman, princess.
definitely looks like
Um,
princess to me.
yeah. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here and you're enjoying
Right.
it. And GMO says he gave up alcohol seltzers this month. Yes,
Good
bravo,
stuff.
rather, bravo. That's awesome. Yeah. So alcohol, that's tough stuff. I hate to tell people don't drink because I know people like it, but you know, it really it's not a great thing. Okay,
No.
I'm giving you the reins. There you go.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about another thing that people need to give up, probably, or may need to give up that they won't want to. And I get it. I was this way for a while. Dairy. Even being carnivore, you just may find that you do better. You won't have the stall, or your weight's going to come off faster if you let go of the dairy. Oh, so GMO's doing no coffee and no dairy. Hardcore carnivore for carnivore month. So were you carnivore before and now you're going more hardcore, or are you just starting and you're being really strict about it? But yeah, coffee is another one. Coffee by itself, I feel like it's mostly fine besides the effects that the caffeine are gonna it's gonna have on you. But coffee normally comes with dairy for a lot of people, and if you're anything like me, it's really hard to just put that like little tiny amount of cream in the coffee, especially the heavy cream. Like it's really easy to just splash it in there, and you're eating like 3 tablespoons at a time with each cup. So coffee's tough, and then a lot of people still do sugar in their coffee, so that's an issue. Um, but yeah, there's ways that things just like sneak in that you're not paying attention to until they pop up, and you
Oh yeah.
finally. I guess this is a place where tracking your food might actually be useful. I'm generally against tracking. I'm against kind of everything
Well,
that's not simple, but you may
yeah,
need to track to find out where you're not as carnivore as you thought you were.
yeah. But that's not the same thing. That's not necessarily the same thing as tracking. Like you can just write down what you ate in a day
Yeah,
without necessarily like figuring out the exact amount and the exact calories and everything like that. But if you're eating a lot of what we call non-food items, um, then yeah, that's a problem in and of
hmm,
itself. And certainly, if you're following, even if you're following keto, there are certain foods that just tend to stall people, and those are dairy, keto snacks of any kind, anything
yeah,
that's entertainment type food, pork rinds. It's another one. Really high fat food, any kind of added fat added to your beverages. So keto coffees, bulletproof coffee, that kind of thing. So,
yep,
if it's steak, it's great. If it's not, or some kind of meat, then, you're wandering away from like the safe area. So you have to ask yourself, like, is that, are the choices you're making good for you? And that's kind of where you go from there.
yeah. Um, Dang it, I had a thing and I forgot it. Artie's
um,
Princess asks, can we use any kind of seasonings on carnivore? And I guess this goes with GMO saying that they haven't given up their garlic salt. I'm gonna say basically any seasoning that you want to use that doesn't bother you is fine. Um, you may find though that going to even foregoing seasonings and all you do is salt on your food may help um, get you past the stall or just continue to lose fat when you had stopped losing before. and it maybe you may find out that like you're at your leanest and healthiest with no spices at all.
Yeah. Well, and you might find that you reset your palate too. So when
Right.
you really take it all out and you just use salt, you're gonna find that it tastes great. And it might seem a little bit weird at first. You add a little more salt, and it'll taste great. And then in a couple of weeks, it'll be kind of like, why did I want this other stuff in here? And actually, I don't. I just want salt. So
Right.
I wouldn't feel like just lean into it and really try it. Just give it a try going all the way. You don't have to stay there, but you have to try it honestly and fully to know whether or not it's going to be helpful to you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Like
see Erica's. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
um I had stopped doing all seasoning. I went back to onion powder for a while, and now I'm kind of still fine with just nothing. Um,
Yeah.
Specifically the garlic. You told me that garlic tastes bitter to you now, and
Hmm.
I just like stuck my finger, like licked it and put it into
Hmm.
the garlic powder and tasted it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gross. This
Hmm.
maybe in small amounts this might taste okay, but like just by itself, it does not taste good. And then I watched a video recently. I can't remember who said it, but some doctor or somebody said that actually things taste bitter to you when there are toxins in it.
Oh yeah, yeah, they do. It's a very good sign. Don't eat this. So
Hmm.
now Erica says, no booze. It's a full year as of January 1st.
Oh, good
So
stuff.
that's
Congrats.
awesome. So Erica, you've just completed 1 year of no alcohol. That's awesome. I'm very very impressed. Um, and she's also cut dairy as well. And let's see, Artie Princess says, "Okay, thank you. I bought some Redmond salt, so I'll try it tomorrow for the first time." Yeah, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed a difference between salts. I don't know if my tongue. I mean, I guess I kind of do notice a difference between salts, and I've wanted to actually get like that black salt from Hawaii and
Mm.
try to like get exotic with it. But Redmond's is good. I get sea salt. It's usually from the Mediterranean or Celtic sea salt or whatever's at the grocery
Mm.
store. I try to find one that doesn't have additives though, and it's oddly hard to
Yeah.
find salt without additives in it.
Yeah. Like I all I do is use Redmond's. I think I would try the other salt like at somebody else's house, but sorry, I don't really have the urge to like buy some because I don't think my palate is developed enough either that I would taste the difference between different kinds of salt, especially like maybe in a taste test if I'm just trying them by themselves. I might be able to notice a difference, but I really doubt I would notice on food.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, the other thing to note about weight loss on a carnivore diet is, I mean, one, you've got to be accepting or at least aware of what your limitations are. And, I was thinking like some people just drop weight like super fast. And I had a friend who worked at the bar across the street from me. And I didn't go in the bar for a while. I hadn't seen him for a while. And one day I was walking by and I saw a guy standing outside smoking a cigarette, and I thought, oh, that guy looks familiar. That's weird, and kept walking. And then I was like, wait a minute, is that John? And I went over to him, and I was like, John? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, you've like completely changed. He lost almost 100 pounds. And I was like, what did you do? How did you do this? Oh my God. And he was like, oh, I
Nice.
decided to stop drinking beer. And I was like, that's it? It was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Nearly 100 pounds. Didn't work
Right.
out anymore. Didn't change his food. Just stopped drinking beer. So, I was like, well, you're clearly not ever going to drink it again, right? Because clearly it does not agree with you.
Hmm.
Um, so, you know, I think that he did go back to drinking it, but perhaps more moderately. Um, but yeah, some people can lose weight super easy and it's no big deal. So, you know, if you're one of those people, you don't really have to worry about the tips for today. You just have to like stop drinking soda and then boom, it's all done.
Is
Yeah,
boom, it's felt out of nowhere.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it does seem though that that happens more for men and younger people,
Yes, yes.
unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what side of those things you're on.
Yeah. Well, I think that you know, young people, young bodies are more resilient. So a lot of times, you know, I think we have to be very careful to not equate youth with health. So young bodies are more resilient and can take a lot more damage. But as you get older, you can't. So losing weight
Hmm.
by, you know, terrible means when you're young can work just fine, but it's not going to work, you know, when you're in your 40s or 50s, perhaps. So that's definitely something to consider. And then, yes, men just seem to lose weight so easy. Oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. Okay. But in a, you know, nightmare starvation scenario, women will outlast men 3 to 1. I mean, in terms of how long we can starve.
Oh
Great.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So come the apocalypse. Yeah.
I think that's part of why we're expendable because it's so easy to make us good that we can just get rid of. Oh well, that guy's healthy, but he sucks. Get rid of him. We'll just make another healthy one. It's really easy. It's more work with y'all, but
Uh-huh. Sure.
the end result, yeah.
Yeah. No, Katura says, yep, not one of those folks. I think about carbs and gain weight. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, so if you're not one of those people, then you really do have to pay attention to: are you following a solid keto or carnivore diet? So, I would recommend that you kind of pay attention and start making sure that you really are following a keto diet or a carnivore diet, and you're cutting out all the snacks, and you're not, you know, looking at food for entertainment, and that will help a lot. And also really be pay attention to whether you are cheating, you know, and how often that's happening. You know, if it's once a month or once every 2 months, maybe that's okay. But if
Yeah.
it's once a week, which could happen, I mean, you start doing once, you do twice, and you keep going. So, um, you know, you have to ask yourself that question. How did you
Especially
cheat in the
now.
beginning? Yeah,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially now, like right after the holidays, like you
Hmm.
can just kind of assume that a lot of people are cheating in some way or have been cheating.
Yeah, yeah. And I find that like once I cheat once, it's so much easier the next time and the next time, and it's
Yep.
hard to like say no when I just cheated 2 days ago. But once I get, you know, a few days, a few weeks under my belt, then it's a lot more like, oh, you know, I've actually been feeling great and doing great. I don't want to cheat because that's just not going to make me feel good. But, you know,
Right.
when you're feeling bad from the cheat from 2 days ago, it's kind of like, well, you know, this will make me feel better momentarily. I'll feel bad for a couple more days and then I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, and it the one enables the other because now your body is remembering sugar. Like it.
Hmm.
Oh, we just had sugar. It was great. Why
Yeah.
don't we do that again?
Yeah.
Like that would, you know, what would be nice? Some sugar.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it just feels like anytime, um, well, actually, no, I'm not going to say anytime. It seems like for me, there's like a certain level of cheating that then begets more cheating. Whereas if I stay like below that level, then I don't really have the desire for anything after that. I'm mostly fine after. As far as cravings, I'm sure it's
Wait,
having some
what
effect on
what
my body.
level?
I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out. It's something so light that it almost feels like, oh, I just tried this. Like, you know how I don't know if your family was like this, but like when you're little and you don't want something, and they say like, just try it. Like you don't want to eat something at like Thanksgiving dinner or something, so they
So
like,
that's the amount of sugar that you can eat before you start feeling a craving.
right, right. It's like that
Yeah,
one, like, well, I had one
just
spoon of
that,
this thing,
just like
just
that.
to, yeah. And it seems like that's a lot more okay than if you go whole hog and then try to go strict after. Your body's like, no, no, we just benched
Yeah,
on sugar. We want more of
yeah,
that. We're right back to being dependent now.
yeah. But even I find even if I resist or if I have that one little lick or taste, even if it's not a lot, like that has, somehow whatever reservoir of, self restraint I had, like that little lick empties it
Uh huh.
by like 90%. So there's a little bit
Damn.
of willpower left, but it's not much. And so that might get me through the next day or the next day, but it's certain I'm going to fall. So that little amount, it's not clear when the fall is going to happen, but it happens. And so
Hmm.
now, now that I fully understand that and remember that, I understand that I can't. One lick is going to end up with me face down in a chocolate cake at some point. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I've seen this story again and again, and that's always where it ends.
You
So
know
there's
what?
no point.
That needs to be so. The next show needs to be how to recover from a binge, and it needs to be a picture of you face down in cake.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. That's how it is. So once I fully realized and accepted that knowledge that that's always where it ends, that was what helped me to be able to stop and to stop finally, you know having a little bit here or there. It's always going to be like that. And so,
Mm,
but you don't have to have that. You don't have to have that desire and those cravings, and it doesn't have to be really hard like that. So yeah.
yeah.
Now, I saw Artie's Princess said earlier, I don't think I'm eating enough fat to lose weight. I struggle with chewing fat on meat. So, um, on a larger scale, what we were had said before was that, one, you've got to make sure you're actually eating, a proper diet and you're not cheating that much.
Hmm.
And then two, you also have to make sure that you're eating enough. So we had talked about briefly that, you have to preserve your metabolism. And one of the things that we are most guilty of is either, eating too much or too much of the wrong things, and then not eating enough. And so if you're constantly under eating, like that is that's so powerfully going against, your body's like design, that it really does cause a problem. So you want your
Hmm.
body to think that it's got enough food, um, and it's measuring your food. I mean, it's measuring enough by, how your hormones, or the signals it's getting from your hormones, and that is controlled by the type of food that you eat. So if you are not eating enough protein and not eating enough fat, then you're going to get those signals that, that you're not eating enough, and you are going to start to have a problem.
Right.
So did you find you had a problem with that in the beginning, Ariane?
Just plain old not eating enough, like not enough
Mm-hmm.
protein or not enough fat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess it wasn't a problem. I probably was eating less fat than I needed because I do remember being like voraciously hungry sometimes, And I wonder if I,
Yeah, that's a sign that you didn't eat enough of something.
right, right. So definitely something, but I wonder if that was, if I could have solved that faster on the days that it happened by just eating more fat.
Yeah, yeah, probably, probably.
I would figure. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know that not eating enough fat to lose weight, like it, you would have to be eating, I would think, really well. No, because even if you're eating really lean, like I don't want to go too far down this road, but we know like the protein sparing modified fast, like it does work. So even with very little fat, you're consuming very little energy, but you're eating. So that means you're eating uh, carnivore. You're gonna be getting enough protein. You should still be losing fat. Um, So I think you'll have an easier time and you'll be happier, and the rest of your health will get itself together when you're eating enough fat. But I don't know that not eating enough fat is going to stall your
Well,
fat loss
not
so
eating
much.
enough calories does seem to have that effect. I don't know the mechanism for why, but I've definitely seen that with, people that I've coached or worked with in the past. Like if you're not eating enough, and then you suddenly, eat a bunch more for a couple of days or a week, that can often kickstart weight loss. So, um, I don't know why, and it's and definitely you want to make the more that you eat actual food. So, don't just load on, junk food or and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But if you're eating
Yeah.
actually more food, that could help. But you do need to make sure that you're getting the right amount of fat for you. But your body will tell you, and that's I mean, and this is the point that we made as well earlier, is that your body is the clearest, has the clearest idea of what it needs and when and exactly how much. So we only need listen to it. So if you start craving things, that's an indication of what you want. But you kind of have to try lots of different types of things and see how your body
Hmm.
responds, because your body can't send you a craving if it's never had something. So, you might try, eating like butter straight from the stick. You might try eating a little bit of suet. You might try cooking pork belly or oxtail and eating that. And as you get these things that are very fatty, your body will have something from which to send you. But a feeling like you're not getting enough can sometimes it's a salt problem, sometimes it's a fat problem, and sometimes it's a protein problem. So, and that's our job now as adult carnivores, to figure out which one of those things it is.
Right. And I guess I'm making a lot of assumptions here. Um, the fact that this is all the thought is I don't think I'm eating enough fat to lose weight. I struggle with chewing fat on meat. That sounds to me like your body does not want the fat for whatever reason. Maybe you're just not used to it. Also, maybe you don't need it. But your goal is losing weight and you're unhappy with your progress towards that goal and you think that it's because you're not eating enough fat, as opposed to like, I have the craving for fat and I'm not eating enough. Which, yes, would be a very different story. Like, if that's the case, if you crave fat, then you just got to figure out how to cook it.
Hmm.
You got to figure out what way is your way, not even just how to cook it, but what is your way to obtain fat? Because maybe it's not cooking, period. Maybe it's just like where you're getting it from. Like, instead of the fat on meat, like maybe, especially like, you know how New York strips sometimes have that like that strip of gristle on the outside.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you just don't like that, and that's okay. Maybe your
Hmm.
taste will change at some point. Maybe they never will. But like, another option is bone marrow.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh my God. Why do I always forget about bone marrow? Roasted bone marrow is like nectar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
carnivore pudding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I see Andy's princess says she's eating OMAD, one steak a day, which does not. I don't know how big that steak is, but that might not be. That's just not enough food.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are so, especially folks who are like trying to get healthy, like they're so enamored with OMAD. I really, I feel like OMAD is almost like advanced carnivore. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to just fall into it naturally in the beginning, then okay, cool. But for the most part, you probably need to be eating more often as a new carnivore, as a
Mm-hmm.
carnivore who's trying to get healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's benefits to fasting, but there's benefits to eating carnivore just by itself. So
Right.
I wouldn't rush to fasting if you're trying to heal something, or if you, I mean, most of us are coming to this not in our best health. So, just spend some time being carnivore, enjoying that, eating that way. And then you can, start to add in fasting as you desire. But you got to be really careful that you're not just eating too little food, and that can happen with OMAD because there's sort of a limit to how much some people can eat in one sitting. So it's kind of a that's something to think about as you're going forward.
Right.
And then I see Karen Michael says, yes, mentally it's difficult to just eat more. I wasn't expecting that to be an issue coming from overeating bad foods, but it really is. That is such a perfect thing to say because what we were eating before was not food. No, I really,
No,
I mean,
I'm with you 100%.
yeah. And it's really important for you to start thinking that way. As you walk through the grocery store, there's only one or two sections that has food. That's, the meat counter, the fish counter, and like where the eggs are and argue you could argue dairy and milk and cheese. But other
Hmm.
than that, the supermarket is filled with a lot of products that people eat, but it is not food. It's not nutrient dense. It's not food. It's not food for us, and it's not food for humans. So even though, and I do talk about this, pretty often, you can be very, very obese and at the same time, malnourished because of those foods. Not only are they not as nutrient dense as meat, but they also have the phytates and other plant chemicals in them that block your ability to absorb the vitamins and minerals that are in them. So
Yep.
you can find yourself in the state where you're overeating and but yet deficient on so many nutrients that you need to operate properly, and including protein. I don't think that people, we often think about protein. We think about it in terms of calories and how many calories we should have. But your body, every cell in your body uses protein, so protein is essential. And and it's very hard to get to an upper limit, before like I don't know that there are even problems. I mean, you can hit a point at which there are no longer any benefits to consuming more protein, but you're not you're not like damaging yourself by eating protein. So I don't know, maybe if you tried to sit down and eat 12 pounds in a day, maybe. But beyond that, like, it's fine. So the question though is making sure that you are well, gosh, where was I going? That you're eating real food and things that are
Hmm.
nutrient dense, and making sure that you are not malnourished. And so if you're coming from trying to control eating a lot of poor quality food, your body, when you finally eat the good stuff, is like, oh my god, finally, I've got to
Right.
have more. And so you're gonna have this insatiable desire. Well, let fine, let it out. Eat two steaks, eat multiple steaks in a day if that's what you want, or whatever it is. Eat it until you are satisfied, and that is enough. And let your body know that you are going to provide everything it needs to be to operate properly. you're
Yeah.
building up a trust between yourself and your body, and your body also needs to trust you to stop starving it.
Yep. And to that point, I'd actually, I'm looking at the name again. It may be Ardis Princess, but it looks like Arby's. So I keep thinking that it's Arby's or Arby's, but like the restaurant. But and restaurant's a very loose term for that. But we're not going to slander Arby's too much today. Uh, you don't
Hey,
have to
you can get
officially
some
do.
roast beef at Arby's.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's actually
Yeah,
it's the one place that is really excited about having meat. So I appreciate them for that.
yeah,
Um, you don't have to officially do anything. You can just eat. Like really, really trust your body. Don't do anything. Don't switch from OMAD to 2MAD or 3 meals a day, or I'm going to do this IF window, 20 hours off, 4 hours on, all that stuff. Like that is all advanced stuff for once you have settled. You, based on the questions you're asking and stuff, it does not sound like you are settled yet. So I would say just eat. If your body wants to eat 3 times a day, do it. If it wants to eat 5 times a day, do it. Especially for the folks who aren't used to eating a lot of meat, it's going to be hard to eat enough meat in a day to actually fuel your body for that entire day. What you probably are going to do is to eat more food, or yeah, more food more often in order to get in enough while your body's getting used to taking in all this food, building up the stomach acid, building up the ability to process what you're eating.
yeah. Now I see Seabliss says she's had her best results eating multiple times a day, so I think that's pretty cool. Um,
Hmm.
and Erica asked if calories matter. So um, I I think it's important to be sort of clear about how we talk about this. One, you can gain weight on a carnivore diet,
Hmm.
um, and that may or may not be a bad thing. Yeah, depending on what your body was like before, that might be a good sign, especially if you were really really restricting for a long time. Um, but the way to achieve weight loss isn't to count calories, I think, on a carnivore diet. It is to follow the tips that we've been talking about tonight. So, one, making sure you aren't already losing fat and just didn't notice. Two, making sure you're actually on a carnivore diet and not cheating too much. Three, making sure that you're eating enough. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is it is possible. One of the things you could do is um, start to lean out your meals and have more meals that are leaner, and not have a ribeye at every meal. But that's not to say that you go all lean. um, so
Yeah.
fat is really important to sort of manage your hormones, your mental state, and so many other things. So I've heard people recommend maybe go lean um, 2 days out of the week, or two dinners. Start with two dinners out of the week, and then if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, then try maybe having a whole day where you eat lean, and then you kind of eat regular throughout the week, and you sort of increase that, but you make sure that you're cycling in higher fat days, because you will tank your hormonal system, and you're just going to be mean and crabbing. Um,
Yeah.
and early on when I started doing carnivore, I was trying to do like a protein sparing modified fast. So I was really going lean, very lean, not just like, oh, I'm eating like filet mignon, but like chicken breasts and egg whites and that kind of stuff.
Ugh.
And yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And I just noticed, I didn't notice it at the time, but then I think someone gave me, or my mom bought me some short ribs, and so I made short ribs, and I ate that for breakfast, and within 20 minutes, I swear, like it was like there was a choir of angels singing. I never felt and experienced such joy.
They were
And it
doing the
wasn't like
Hallelujah
from,
chorus.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't like, just eating and being like, oh my God, this tastes so good. I mean, it was just like, it just came out of nowhere, this feeling. And then I realized, oh, it's the fat. I had gone about 2 or 3 weeks with, very low amount of fat. I ate these short ribs and it was like, I mean, it was stunning. And then the next day, I ate short ribs again for breakfast and felt the same way. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then thereafter, I didn't really feel that way. So I think I kind of got caught up in terms of my fat. Like there were no more choir singing. But
Hmm.
I realized, looking back over that 3 weeks, I realized that my mood was getting worse and worse. I was feeling more and more, um, I didn't describe it as depressed, but just feeling like nihilistic, like, nothing I was,
Hmm.
trying to accomplish was going to work. And like, I just couldn't, get a break. But then after I had the short ribs, it was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the last 3 weeks. They were exactly like, the previous 3 weeks. Like I just, like my mental state just became darker and darker and darker. But I didn't notice it because it was just, one day at a time. So I don't know what would have happened had I not had those short ribs. I mean, I'm sure I would have. Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if I had not had those short ribs that day. But
I don't know. That
yeah, yeah,
you might storm the Capitol if you don't eat enough fat. Like that might have been
yeah,
it. Like, where's my short
yeah.
ribs?
So I think it is okay to lean out and eat leaner meals some days, and as long as you're making sure you're having higher fat meals other days. But your body is also going to give you a signal. I mean, you can argue that your body wants to be at a lower weight. Especially if you feel like you have a lot of weight to lose. And so it's
Hmm.
going to give you the signals to get there. So it might give you a signal, hey, I'd prefer a New York strip rather than a ribeye. And that's okay. That's fine. Even though, the ribeye is going to get all the likes on Instagram and all, everyone loves that. But yeah, what are you laughing about?
there's a there's a whole thing going on in the chat about short ribs since you mentioned them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Short ribs are delicious.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
can't blame them.
Yeah. I see some people saying there's a limit to how much protein we can absorb in a meal, so having multiple meals is better. Yeah, perhaps. I mean, if you're trying to get down 300 grams of protein, yeah, that's not going to work in one meal. But, depends on, I guess, how much you're trying to eat. I don't
Hmm.
recommend doing shakes or anything like that to get more down. Just,
No,
just eat more meals.
eat
It's okay.
eat food. Protein
Yeah,
shakes are not food.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I see our Artie says still trying to let go of the calorie restriction idea. It's hard. It's hard.
Hmm.
It's been in our brains for a long time. So yeah. And Keturah says I had a goiter, low thyroid, and anemic, clearly deficient, but I was over 300 pounds. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, Oh my God, I'm so glad that you were here too, Artie. This makes all the difference. Um, let's see, and Siebla says, my best results come from eating 2 to 3 meals a day, working through the mental, emotional restrictions towards food and eating, and being creative in getting more fat. Hmm. Yeah. So, um, so the, so what, I had one more thought about, um, losing. Well, so the other thing to think about with losing weight is to really examine, and this is a part that's like least fun, is to examine what's going on. If you are desiring to eat, um, is it is your body sending you a signal that, there's something else it needs, which is very likely?
Hmm.
Or is there an emotional thing going on? Did you just have a fight with somebody? Did you just get an email you didn't like? What is the context surrounding that desire? And really think about that, because that is absolutely going to affect you, and your ability to lose weight. And then, of course, there are the totally non-food things, like how much stress you have. If your cortisol is always high, you're going to have a really hard time losing weight. Are you sleeping? If you're not sleeping, you're going to have a really hard time losing weight, even if you're getting all the food stuff right. If you're doing a lot of drinking alcohol, it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So, hmm
Um, yeah, and I would say I like these things in the order that they're being given because I think that's the order for like dealing with them, or
hmm
the order of trying them. Like you start off like just get rid of the scale, relax about your weight, measure your fat loss in different, more accurate, more effective ways. Um, and I would put like a point 0.5 on that, which is like fix the rest of yourself. If your sleep's off, then you got to worry about that. You got to work on that. If your stress levels are high, you got to work on those. And then there's the are you actually eating carnivore? Are you actually as carnivore as you think you are? Are there things that you can cut out? Or are there carnivore things that you need to cut, like dairy, um, or the pork rinds? Because, yeah, there's a lot of people. I didn't realize because it's not a thing for me, but there are folks who like pork rinds are just as bad as chips or cookies for them.
yeah.
And
Well,
then
pork
think
rinds
about
are now like the ingredients for everything too, biscuits and bread and stuff like that. And I feel like, you know,
if you
that's
don't say it, I'm
bordering,
gonna.
it's bordering on entertainment.
I feel like this reliance on pork rinds to make all these carnivore versions of foods and really just kind of pork rinds in general is not natural eating, um, especially to have a ton of them. So do with that what you guys will, but that's my feeling about pork rinds. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, then third step is change your macros. For a lot of people, that's going to be go leaner. You don't have to count fat calories versus protein calories. Just eat leaner meals
hmm
sometimes. Eat some leaner meat. Somebody in the chat, I think it was Johnny G, suggested like white fish. Like that's a really easy way to do it.
hmm
Do
Yeah.
understand that it's probably more expensive to eat that way, and you're going to be eating a lot more than what you thought you were eating before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can
I've
go in
been
the other
trying,
direction.
hmm
Sorry, real
which is
quick. Or you
what?
can go in the other direction and add more fat. For some people, that's actually what they need. They need to add more fat and then they actually lose more fat, which is paradoxical, but it does work for some people.
hmm Yeah. I mean, and I actually think that's really important to test it out and to ask that question. And when you're having cravings and desires to eat a lot, that usually is a sign that you need to eat more. And lately I have been switching it up, and I feel like I haven't actually been getting enough protein. And so I've started to choose leaner cuts, and I've actually felt better. So
Mm,
but I think your body also changes too. So what you need in the
right.
beginning is not the same thing as what you need later on. So it really is. You're going to have to be a little bit of your own astronaut or explorer. You're stepping out into uncharted territory when
Yeah.
when you eat this way.
Yeah. Like you're the detective. You're gonna have to be watching for or your own scientist. You could think of it that way, like you're doing these experiments on yourself to find out like what it is that you operate best on, and that's a process.
Mhm. Yeah. Now I saw Erica said something about her edges coming back. So I'm curious what you did to make that happen, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that want to do that. So Erica, if you could put that again in the chat. Yeah. So
I think.
uh, yeah.
Oh, she was just saying that part of being carnivore, her edges came back.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what she said.
So I hear that a lot. And one of the things that I was, sort of toying around with doing before my whole computer escapade was sort of going through some of my interviews and editing them and pulling out clips that have to do with specific topics so that I could run through clips about people whose hair grew back or people who lost weight or people who reversed diabetes, and I'm surprised at how many people have this hair growing back thing. So it's actually pretty fascinating what carnivore can do for people.
Right. Yeah, and I've heard it before a couple times. People's hair has grown back, or that the hair has gotten thicker since
Hmm.
going carnivore.
Yeah. So Katura, I don't think that things are necessarily wrong with carnivore. Sorry, with pork rinds, but I think there are certain foods and certain things that there's like a limit to them. Like you can only in natural life you can only get so much. And so like when I cook like a pork roast, there's only so much skin. You only get so much of that crispiness. So
Hmm.
if everybody is eating some, you get a limited amount. And so that's fine. You have that limited amount and then it's over. But when you can go to the store and buy, a big giant bag of pork rinds and eat, as much as you want every single day, you're now like not getting a natural amount. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I think about it. Like in, our natural environment, getting some pork skin that's crispy, like there's a limited amount of it. And then that's it. I mean, unless you're going to, be the hog and not let anybody else have any,
Right.
which I certainly might do.
Yeah, like if you're that person who's walking around, like stealing, leaving everybody else the whole hog, but you're just taking the skin off of everyone's pigs, like the slaughtered pig, taking the skin off, and like that's not gonna happen. You're not really. To me, it's almost
Hmm.
no, not almost. It is like unnatural eating to be eating a lot of pork skin because yeah, that wouldn't happen.
Sure.
There would only be so much skin to go with all of the meat that you would eat too. And in a ancestral living scenario, you would be eating the whole animal, which would yes would include the skin, but it would also include the inside of the animal too, all the meat and whatever. Like in that
Yeah.
same way, um, I'm sure.
Guys, I'm not sure what happened, but good night.